Now, I want to introduce something that I have mentioned in the past. And I want to tell everybody that whatever going to make Africa better is going to depend on all of us. Whatever we do to change Africa is the only thing that's going to produce results. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching wherever you are. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Let me start by saying that Africans' colonization is not your problem. Let me say it again. Africans' colonization, colonialism is not your problem today. There was a time when it was an issue. Today, in the year 2023, colonization is not what's keeping you African people or what's keeping all of us African people down. And we must embrace that idea and we must accept it and we must start thinking of how to better our own countries and our own continent. The idea that you can blame somebody and produce results is a fallacy. The only thing that produces results is when you take responsibility and start doing what you know you can do to change your situation. Now, when it comes to developments, as far as we know what developments entail. Having sufficient electricity in the society, a functional educational system that teaches people how to be productive in the society as well as how to have critical thinking. You cannot do one without the other. People must learn skills that will help to keep the country going. And people must learn how to think so that people don't come and manipulate them and deceive them and tell them things that are not right. As we can see, what's trending sort of on the internet is where African leaders are telling us that Western civilization or Western societies, Western democracy is not what we need. What we need is to align ourselves with Russians and Chinese. And these are dictatorial societies. How in the world can you tell Africans that we don't need democracy? We want to trade and be partners with Russia and China. What do you think they're selling us? Oh, they want to sell us goods without selling us their system? Is that what some of you believe? They want to sell us something but tell us, oh, don't follow our dictatorial system because we don't like it? Or that's a way to let your African leaders continue to manipulate you into accepting their dictatorial system. Majority of African leaders do not. Majority of African leaders do not believe in democracy, and that's why they are easily lured by China and Russia. The problem we have in Africa is the African leaders, and it's not the Western world. As of 2019, about $49 billion was remitted across the entire continent of Africa from Africans who live in the diaspora. It wasn't coming from Africans who live in China or in Russia. It was coming from Africans who live in the West. The Western world is not our problem. Anybody who keeps telling you that the West is actually your problem is undermining your intelligence, because there are so many of us who are benefiting and who have benefited from the Western ideology, from the Western democracy and Western system of government. And we are still benefiting as I speak to you today. Only in the West can you come here to go to school. You can get a scholarship. Not only scholarship, you can get what they call funding to do masters and PhDs in the West. While you are studying, you may be able to be working at the same time, making some little thing that you can send to your families back to Africa, where the same African leaders have refused to do things that benefit our own family members and relatives over there. So what are they telling us? That the West is our problem. Who is the colonial monsters? America never colonized anybody. There are some countries in Africa that were never colonized. Are they doing better? So who told you that colonization is your problem in 2023? When are we going to wake up and start learning to understand that this world is a competitive world? You got to prepare your workforce to compete, and you got to elect good leaders that will direct you to the area where you can be able to compete with other nations. Nobody is there to hold your hand to cross the street. Nobody is there to babysit you. The Western world is not there to babysit you. They have their own issues. They have their own problems. You are not their own problem. Your problem is your leaders. Wake up all the African youths and start questioning your leaders. Start antagonizing your leaders. Start challenging your leaders. Your leaders are the ones stealing your future. And when they're stealing, where do they send the money? In the Western world. Where do they send their children? In the Western world. Where do they go for vacation? In the Western world. And they tell you that West is the world. Where does the Chinese people and Russians spend their vacations? In the Western world. The Russians steal money from Russia and then send it to the Western world to go and buy chateaus and buy all these mansions. And the same Russians tell you the West is your own problem. When will Africans start thinking? When will African people start thinking? Come on. All you need is to look at where the money will, look at what they do. Just don't listen to what they say. Look at what they do, my dear. They tell you the West is their problem, your problem, and then they take them, they steal the money, and then they send it to the West, the banks in the West. Hello? Guys, who did this to us, Africans? Who did this to us? That we cannot even use our own brain. And then we every day they wake up and telling us how much America is collapsing. America is collapsing? And if America collapses, you guys going to survive? If America collapses, are you going to survive? You don't have nothing. You can't produce anything. You can't even feed your own people. And you are talking. Your leaders don't even care about the sick children in their own societies. They don't even care about the poorest of the poor in their own societies, and they want to make you believe that they care about you or the West is your problem. Every day you wake up, 5,200 children die across the continent of Africa for malnutrition and lack of medicine. 5,200 children die every blessed day in the continent of Africa for treatable diseases. What are African leaders doing? The West is your problem. Have they actually started addressing this issue? Every year you hear that one country or the other going to go into, drought, and they're going to be starvation. Starvation in a continent that is more than 100 times blessed than any other place on planet Earth. And you guys are listening to that. When are you going to start waking up? When are you going to start using your brain? Because one thing I can say is that African people are very smart people. I can testify to that. We are very, very smart people. As soon as people come together and declare to us or our children, our young people, this is the name of the game, this is how the world works, we will hit the ground and running. We will step up our game because we're very intelligent people. Our problem is right now we are not using what we have. We are not using our brain. We are allowing people to misguide us, to deceive us, and then point out things that doesn't make any sense. They want to tell you what happened during the Cold War. You are no more in the Cold War. I want to remind you about the colonizations. Colonialism has gone. You are in 2023. Singapore was colonized. South Korea was devastated by war. They rose up and then look at where they are today. Dubai was a desert. It's an Arab war country. Look at where they are today. Guys, wake up. Stop allowing somebody to misguide you because you have a bright and wonderful brain to use. Use your own brain because you can think. Start thinking, start questioning things. The principle of critical thinking is question everybody. Even as I'm speaking to you, question me. Ask me questions. And I will reply, and I will respond to your questions. If I don't have any response to your question, I will tell you I don't have an answer. If I have an answer, I will come back to you. Whosoever is telling you that West is your problem, I do ask them questions. Where do their leaders train their children? Where do they send their children for education? Where do they go for vacation? West is your problem. He carries his suit, he's going to London. My dear, enough is enough. It's time for all of us to wake up and smell the coffee. All those manipulation and everything is over, and they know it's over, and that's why they are trying everything to misguide you. Western world is not your problem. Colonization is not your problem. Remember that and hold on to it. The only solution that you can get is the approach and the way you try and do all you can to change the system and everything going wrong in your society. Let nobody tell you anything otherwise. Is the West stopping us from having electricity 24 hours in Nigeria, for example? Is the Western world stopping us from having the best hospitals money can buy? Is the Western world stopping us from having a wonderful educational system in our countries? Come on. These guys took the money out. They stole all the money. And then they tell you the West is your problem. And you're buying. Don't buy that stuff. You're better than that. Tell them no. I know what our problems are. I know who our problem is. And it's the African Leadership Organization. All those people in our leadership in our individual countries are the collective problem we have in that continent. All of them put together. They are the one destroying our children. They are the one destroying our future. And we must rise up and challenge them. We must rise up and put everything straight. We must hold them accountable, guys. We must hold them accountable. They cannot continue telling us the West is our problem and we keep running around. And all those people putting all those video on YouTube telling you how bad the West is, how much America is collapsing, is because somebody in Russia is paying them off. Yes, somebody in Russia is paying them off to tell you that dictatorial system is better than democracy. That's all they're trying to tell you, but they're using kind of code words. They're trying to tell you that dictatorship is better than democracy. It's up to you to think. What else? Are you going to align with Russia without aligning with their system of government? Is that what it is? They want you to align with them, but yeah, hey, go ahead. Let me support you with your democracy, but we want to do business with you. They indirectly try to tell you that democracy is not good for you. And Putin has said it over and over that what they call democracy in the Western government, in the Western system, is not actually a democracy. He is the one that has the real democracy by being a dictator. Start thinking. Start thinking. It's up to you to either use your brain or don't. Nobody gonna do it for you. Do me a favor. Subscribe to this channel, because we're going to start bringing more content to you. And share this with your fellow Africans or your friends from every part of the world. Please. It's time for us to rise up and take back our continent, and we will do business with the Western world. Where they come up off from a bad side, we just say no. When they come up with something that fits us, we say yes to this one. When they show us the one that we don't like, we say no. That's how you do business. Business is always, it's not one directional. It's always two-way thing. You come up with your bargain, I come up with my bargain. To outright tell you that with the Western world is your problem is a nonsense. And stop buying that nonsense from today. Please. It's nonsense, and don't buy it. Put an end to it, because that's not the truth. Thank you, and keep on watching as we come up with more content. Peace.